Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm gonna check the new camera from Xiaomi, the Mijia Mini 4K camera. It features an Ambarella CPU which is identical to the one that the FPV Legend 3 and the FPV box are using, and a Sony IMX317 image processor and a field of view of 145 degrees. Inside the package we're getting the instructions manual, which is unfortunately only in Chinese, the camera, a USB to micro USB cable, and the lithium-ion battery, which has a capacity of 1450 mAh. The first thing you notice about this camera is the big 2.4 960 by 480 touch screen on the back. Everything is being controlled by just touching the screen. On the left side we have the micro USB port, and on the bottom we have the compartment for the battery and a micro SD card slot that supports up to 64 GB micro SD cards. In addition, you can find also on the bottom a tripod connector. Turning on the camera is done by short pressing the shutter button. Then you're gonna hear this sound that indicates that the camera has been turned on. On the top left we can see the resolution and frames per second that we are shooting at, and on the top right you can see the battery status. Now behold, even though this is the international version, everything is in Chinese, and I've tried really hard to change it by updating the firmware because I read it that it's possible, but unfortunately I couldn't do it and I'm pretty much stuck with the Chinese language. But this is not the end of the world because everything is configurable through the Mi Home app, which is not great, but it can still help you to configure the image and the video settings. In order to connect the app, you have to slide the finger all the way from the top, choose Wi-Fi, and then you need to connect to the MiCam SSID with the password that is provided here. Then first you have to add your device. You can add it manually and look for the Mi Action camera. I've already done it, so you can see that all you need to do just hit the Mi Action camera 4K, hit connect to the camera, and you can see that the video the camera is recording, and we can change all the settings. Over here we can select the mode. Right now it's on video. You can press this button in order to change between 4K 30 frames per second all the way down to 720p at 200 frames per second. I'm gonna leave it on 1080p 60 frames per second. And you can also change other settings by hitting this settings button on the top. We can change the resolution again. We can set the quality between superfine, fine, and normal. We can mute the microphone, stamp the date and time or date and time on the video or on the picture that you're taking. We can change the metering mode, exposure value, and the white balance. Finally, the top left button allows us to choose between a wider FOV or a narrower one. So as you could see, the app is pretty easy to operate, but you can still change settings in the camera even though you probably don't understand Chinese. Hitting this button over here allows us to quickly change the resolution so it is easy to understand, and this is probably the button that you're going to use the most. So in the end of the day, not having English in this camera is not that bad, and I do think that Xiaomi is going to release an update that will enable you to change the language, hopefully. In addition, you can turn off the camera just by pressing the power off button, and you can also lock it, and then in order to unlock it, you'll just have to slide it down, and then the camera is going to be unlocked. Changing the photo mode or video mode is done by sliding your finger to the right, and then you can change the camera mode. I advise you to use the camera app in order to do so. Just stick to the basic changes when using the camera if you don't know what you're doing. In order to start recording, simply press the shutter button. You can see that the camera is recording. We have two LED indicators that indicates that we are recording. We have the one on the top and we have the one on the front as well. In order to stop the recording process, simply press the shutter button again, and then the video is going to be saved. If you want to watch it, slide your finger to the left, and then we can see the video or the photo that we've taken. You can press it and simply press the shutter button. You can see that the camera, and you can play it, and you can also change the volume. As you could hear, the volume of the camera is not so great. If you want to delete the video or the picture, just long press the thumbnail and you can press this trash button, and the right one is the one that confirms that the video or image are going to be deleted. Now you're probably wondering how this camera compares to the good old Xiaomi Wii, so you can see how it looks next to it. Let's quickly weigh it up. The weight of the Mijia 4K camera is 97.88 grams, and the Xiaomi Wii weighs only 69 grams, so it is much lighter. The thickness of the camera is about the same, but you can see that the new Mijia camera is wider than the Xiaomi Wii. Its measurements are 21.6 by 71.5 by 42.8 millimeters. The Xiaomi Wii looks more durable and has all these silicone accessories that will help you to protect it, whereas the Mijia mini camera doesn't have any accessories, and Xiaomi didn't even release a waterproof case. So if you're looking to dive with this camera, you're going to have trouble to do so, and you should take it into consideration if you're thinking about purchasing this camera. Another big disadvantage of this camera, especially if you want to mount it on the quadcopter, that the big touchscreen on the back is very fragile, and probably if you're going to crash your quadcopter, it's going to shatter, which will make this camera pretty much unusable unless you're going to use the app in order to configure it, whereas the Xiaomi Wii is more durable and probably will withstand harder crashes than the Xiaomi Mijia Mini. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take these cameras outside and compare side-by-side video on 1080p 60 frames per second in order to see which camera performs better. I'll bet this one performs better, but you'll have to take everything into consideration when purchasing a new camera, because maybe this new camera is not going to suit your needs. So I thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and you find it useful. If you have any questions about these cameras, feel free to ask it in the comment section below, and I'll see you on my next videos. Goodbye.